Well, let's move on to your legislative life. Very proud of you and what you do in Montgomery. And I know one of the things that you've been working on, you've been instrumental in bringing to the forefront is the housing tax credit. So can you talk to us a little bit about what that is, how it evolved, and what made you kind of go after that?
Yeah, so I started in the legislature. I've been now through 3 legislative sessions, and learned a little bit more each year. And every year I've been down there. Of course, like everything else, the longer you're there, the more work you have to do, and the more people seek you out to carry legislation for them that they need help with. And that was the case with this particular housing tax credit. Actually, we had introduced it the year before last, and with the understanding it was complicated and it would probably take a couple of years to get it through, but we wanted to begin talking about it in the 2023 session, which we did. And we did pass it last year in the 24 session. And basically, there is a federal housing tax credit that's been on the books since Ronald Reagan was in office, and it's one that is designed to encourage developers to develop housing for working class people who a good example might be a mom with 3 children who's living in low-income housing. She gets a job. She now makes too much money to live in the low-income housing, so she has to leave, but she can't afford to go live on her own, buy a house, or even rent an apartment. So this housing is designed to help people like her, or in the example of Huntsville or Mobile, where they're trying to attract a lot of workers from other places and they can't really afford to move from some rural area to the city. This really helps attract those workers as well. So it was designed to help increase our workforce participation and encourage developers to build that type of housing in Alabama. So
That's great. I think that's really great. So what's one piece of advice that you can give to buyers or agents? I know you said communication is key, but let's bring buyers into this too. What can they do to help make sure that this is a smooth transaction, just the buyer's side?
Well, first of all, hire somebody you trust. Trust your agent. Do your homework when hiring an agent and get a good one. And then trust your agent. It's not something most people do every day. And so people are distrustful often of the process, and they're scared they're going to make a mistake. And it's a lot of money on the table, so they get nervous, and then sometimes they get to be difficult to deal with because of the fear. And so I would say if you can get a good agent, get a good agent, trust your agent, and follow your agent's lead. That's probably the best thing you can do, because agents do it every day, and they know us, and we know them, and we will lead you through it. But also don't bury your head in the sand. I mean, pay attention and ask questions. But I have had people come in and want to read every word in every contract.
Engineers?
Yes. A lot of times it's engineers, and I say that's fine.
Yeah.
The lender's not going to change any of those words, but you're welcome to read them. I'll come back in a couple of hours, But anyway, it's really unnecessary.
Yeah. And what's one thing that you wish that real estate agents understood about the title process? Is there something that, I know the communication and stuff, but is there something about it that you wish that they would teach in real estate school, or that we would learn on our own somewhere, or just get it from doing it enough that would just make things go more smoothly?
The agents that begin the process by going online and looking to see if their client who's selling the property actually owns the property is a great first step. So that's an agent who knows what they're doing, and just checking the deed to see if there's any obvious issues that they need to address right off the bat. I deal a lot with estate planning and probate work in my law practice, and if there is an estate involved, I think it's important for agents to have at least a pretty good working knowledge of what the issues are in estates and what questions to ask, and to really kind of deal with that up front as well, because there often are extra steps we have to take in order to get court approval if we need it to sell the property, and that can take some time. So being smart about who you're dealing with and understanding some of the basics of the legalities on the title company side are very important for agents to know and understand, or at least know what to ask.
And how do you stay updated and continue learning? I know how we do it in real estate, and I would imagine there are classes or something. What is it that you do as the owner of a title company that keeps you updated in your field?
Yeah, the same thing pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm licensed obviously as an attorney and also as a title agent. When I opened the title company, I went ahead and sat for that exam and studied for that exam. It had been a while since I took an exam when I took that exam. Never had taken one online only either, so that tells my age. But anyway, it all worked out. But I have to have continuing education credits I have to take for both licenses. And I'm constantly reading. You have to kind of constantly read.
I agree. When I moved here, which was about 35 years ago, were you on the city council then?
No.
Okay. I remember when you were on the city council, and I know that for me, moving here 35 years ago, Tuscaloosa has gone through tremendous changes. Just the way downtown looked. When I got here, there were so many closed storefronts, and now our downtown is thriving. And I know that you born and raised here, and you've seen a ton of changes. Talk a little bit about what you've seen for Tuscaloosa, the good and the bad, and maybe give us a little idea of what's coming.
Yeah, so I got on the council in 2005.
Okay.
And that was...
Seems like longer.
Well, 16 years I was on the council. I did 4 terms.
Okay.
And it was a great time to start because, I don't know the exact years, but Bob Witt was the president either then or soon thereafter, and Nick Saban came along soon thereafter. And the combination of Dr. Witt wanting to grow the university, and the need to grow the university just for competitiveness, and of course Nick Saban coming and having a winning football team was a great time to be on the city council and experience and sort of be a part of the planning and the growth that came along with that. No doubt there were challenges also, especially in this downtown area with the student apartment complexes and all that we had to try to figure out with that. And then along came the tornado, which was awful, but obviously lots of rebuilding and rethinking some things after that. And of course Mayor Maddox has been mayor the whole time and guided us quite well through all of that. And it has been so exciting to see particularly the way the downtown has developed and maintained that vibrancy over the years, and to just sort of witness that transformation. Like you, when I was growing up, there was nothing in downtown Tuscaloosa. And I know a lot of communities have experienced downtown growth, so we're not alone in that. But it really certainly has happened here in Tuscaloosa. I hope it stays. I see every reason to believe that it will stay that way for a long, long time. We are constantly working sort of on a statewide level of trying to pull together all the resources, great resources we have here locally to better do economic development in this region, and that's something we're currently working on right now. And so that's going to be exciting to watch. The University of Alabama offers great resources for us, and vice versa. And so we definitely all need to be pulling in the same direction when it comes to some major projects and how to capitalize on those. So that's one of the things we're really working on right now. I'm excited to be a part of that.
Well, you mentioned the tornado and you being on the city council during that, and we really don't talk about the tornado that much anymore and the impact that it had. I would imagine, and I wasn't part of any of it, but I was here, and I would just imagine that there wasn't any kind of template for you during that time? When I think about what happened during that time, I would imagine that the city council had to make decisions and come up with a plan when you had no resource for how to do it.
You are so right. The one thing that the city had done that helped, it was not too long before that, the mayor and many of the key staff members had gone and gotten basically emergency training, how to react in the face of an emergency, and they were able to fairly quickly put in place sort of the command center, what they called it, reporting. But FEMA doesn't come along on day 2 of your emergency. It took 2 to 3 months for FEMA to come in and try to really help guide us. So for literally 2 months, we sat around up there day and night trying to decide, where to take the debris, how are we going to get it there? Where's a site that we can put the debris? We've got 10,000 people calling to volunteer. How do we organize these volunteers? We have a lot of work that needs to be done, but we really need to try to organize them. Who can do that? Who has those skills? How do we pay for that? There was just any number of issues like that we were faced with, and I remember thinking exactly what you said. There's no roadmap.
Yeah.
There's nobody here to come help us through this, and we had smart people who were willing to roll up their sleeves and do whatever needed to be done. And then once the federal, money and experience came in to help, that was helpful.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you have to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, and I knew I had restaurants then, and college students coming to ask if they could plug their phones in to charge so they could call home, because wherever they were living wasn't there anymore. And I know that a lot of churches and a lot of people were they all wanted to help and they didn't know what to do, so of course food, everybody starts cooking, and there was a lot of food, but I have no idea how that was all handled, but it seemed like it was everywhere, and I had never lived through anything like that, and it was amazing. The one thing I really remember is after the tornado, and I didn't drive around because I knew people were driving around, and I wasn't going to do that, but a long time after that, I went down, I think it was the Downs, or Glendale Gardens. It was Glendale Gardens. A friend of mine who owned a house there that her son had been living in, and she was down in Ono, asked me to just look and see what it looked like, and I couldn't find it because it looks so different. It's amazing, especially women. I think I'm a landmark person. Don't tell me to take a 45-degree turn left northeast, but if you tell me to take a left by the Walgreens, I'm good. And so driving down there, I knew exactly what I'd been to the house a number of times, and to figure out exactly which lot that was. It was really a weird, eerie feeling.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
To have lived in a place for many, many years, in my case, my whole life, and to drive down 15th Street and feel like you're lost.
Yeah, it was weird. But of course, we're good now.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Lots of tragedy for sure. Some good things came out of it, as always. But anyway, lots of hard work, but great effort on behalf of many, many people. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights concerning the tornado and the legislature and Tuscaloosa and all the things that we've got going on here. But that's a wrap for today's episode of Carry On with Carrie Fitz. A big thank you to Cynthia. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who could use this knowledge. Until next time, carry on.